Hi, welcome to the complimentary preview on the real estate development process brought to you by the Falvey Institute for the Development of Real Estate. We hope you enjoy it. I'm Wayne Falvey, and I'll be narrating this presentation. In it, we're going to examine the generic development process, regardless of asset type or property type, and regardless of where located, this process is generic. And we'll also be looking at the major phases of development. Let's get started. Speaking of generic development process, the definition, and it's a very accurate one, I believe, says that real estate development isn't really an endeavor. It's more than that. It's a very complex, perhaps the most complex industry in which you can become involved. It is highly entrepreneurial. You've got to be able to be a creative thinker, and you've got to be somebody who is highly motivated. It's extremely high risk, perhaps the riskiest venture you can get into. It is capital intensive, most of it front loaded, a lot of it front loaded. It's long term. When you're in it, you're in it. There's no picking up the phone, calling your stockbroker and saying, sell. And seconds later, you're out. It doesn't happen that way. And it's multidisciplinary. As you'll see while we go through this process, there are any number of players, consultants, that you'll be working with throughout the process. This slide, number 4, shows you a graphic of the chronology of the development process from preliminary considerations into the pre-development phases, development, and post-development. And we're going to take a look at each one of those phases as we go through this. This particular slide just demonstrates that real estate development as an industry includes many different types of development, many different types of projects. It was often said that the 3 keys to success in real estate are location, location, and location. And the reality of it today is that location remains vitally important, but equally so, timing of the deal and the way you structure it. We'll say a few more things about the structure here momentarily. These are the major phases of development in pretty much the chronological order in which they occur. Remember, they do not occur in a vacuum. They overlap, they interlock, they interface. It's not so easy as you can just tie up one of the phases, all this, a neat package, put it aside and say, well, I'm done with that. It doesn't really happen that way. The very first phase, likely, that you're going to encounter will be the market analysis phase, which we sometimes call the go, no-go decision number 1, meaning that if you don't like what you learn in this phase, you can exit the deal without getting heavily involved financially. And as it says on the screen, there are a number of questions that need to be answered by the market data. And if the data answer these questions positively, you move forward. If not, you exit the deal. Financial analysis is an ongoing phase. You're determining whether this proposed project can achieve your desired financial objectives. Well, as you get deeper and deeper into the project, you gain more and more information, and projected numbers become actual numbers, and so you're constantly working with your pro forma. And that will happen right on through to the completion of the project, and then you'll be in a look-back phase to see how you actually did. Common measures of project value or measuring return on investment are demonstrated there on your screen. The most important of them is the discounted cash flow analysis, which includes things such as net present value and internal rate of return. Those take into consideration the time value of money. This is a long-term situation, the real estate project. It lasts for years. So $1 earned in year 4 is not equal to $1 earned today. There's a discount factor involved. Site selection. You're trying to optimize a number of things. You want to maximize the market demand and product absorption, meaning the speed or velocity of the absorption of the product. You want to optimize the access to the property and its visibility. And at the same time, you want to mitigate as much as possible the risk involved. The next phase might include or involve negotiating and structuring the deal, sometimes called the art of the deal, and it has 2 main phases or 2 main characteristics. One is the financial and the other is the legal. And they require very deep thought and a lot of expertise in both areas in order to properly structure the deal to optimize your return. Second time we get a chance to exit the deal in the due diligence phase. This is where we're doing a very, very careful and complete analysis of the items that are shown on your screen and more. As you can probably surmise, these require experts, consultants who you will hire, and that will cost you some money. So if you don't like the information they provide, in other words, if it comes back and said this is not the optimal site for this project because it has environmental issues that can't be mitigated reasonably or whatever, then in a case like that, you're going to want to exit the deal rather than go ahead and close on purchase of the property. Financing the acquisition of the land, difficult to do. Lending institutions do not like to loan money against raw land. It does not produce an income stream from which their payments can be paid, so they're very reluctant to do that. Hence, you have to look at many other techniques to try to get this phase accomplished. Strategic marketing, you've probably been thinking about this from the very beginning, but by this point, you want to begin to put some flesh on the bones of your marketing plan, your strategy. Entitlements refers to the stage where you're getting the approvals from the different governmental agencies to move forward with the project. And at least in the United States and in other jurisdictions, you have various levels or tiers. You have local, regional, state, and federal. And those agencies all have turf wars. They all have their own rules and regulations. Sometimes they conflict. It's a very difficult area. Planning and design has 3 phases. The conceptual phase, which then is refined into floor plans and so forth, and then ultimately documented with detailed plans and specifications. Development financing, where do you find the money, the capital, to complete the project? And it comes from either debt or equity or a combination of the two. And some of the sources are shown there on slide 18. Now you're at the stage where you're actually beginning to see things happen. You're moving dirt around, putting in the rough grading and the roads and what have you as part of the infrastructure, and then going vertical with the buildings. And last in this process, when you've completed it and you've reached stabilization, meaning that you have reached your projected occupancy, you're in the operating phase. In the operating phase, you've got to manage the property, manage the assets as time goes by, up to the point where you ultimately sell them. And I thank you for your time and attention in viewing this brief introductory program on the real estate development process, and hope you enjoyed it. It's a pleasure to be able to make these programs available. For information on our other programs concerning the real estate development industry and the functions of the developer, please review the information on our website, falbyinstitute.com. You may also find our blog to be helpful, and it can be accessed from the website. Thank you.